Hello, guys. Welcome to another chapter of the Cinnamon Chats. And today we have to Andy from Andi Adventures. We're gonna let her talk about herself and who she is.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and for watching. Okay, so my name is Andrea Fong, but I'm commonly known as Andy. I basically really love traveling, and I've been traveling since I was a little girl with my parents. I have to thank them for my love of foreign lands, foreign people, foreign foods, even though half the time it probably leads to a horrific tummy ache. But whatever it is, I appreciate all the experiences, right? Good and the bad. I guess, yeah, I think that's my main gig is that I'm Andy. I'm all about positivity and I love travel, and I believe that traveling will just improve us as people, as normal human beings, and improve the world collectively.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So tell us, how did your adventure begin?
I think if I were to talk about my adventure, it would have say the first time I went on a proper solo trip would have been to Spain. It was to Madrid. This is like exactly 10 years ago. And it started off with like a little mini solo trip. Ended up, what became of that was just having Spanish hot chocolates and churros every single morning, talking in butchered Spanish to the owner of this one store that had the most amazing Spanish hot chocolate and amazing churros, talking to strangers that I appreciated so much but was never ever going to meet again, and no regrets. After that, I ended up participating in San Fermin, like the bull run in Pamplona. I did that with like a couple of friends, and now, even though I know it probably wasn't the best thing to do from an animal welfare point of view, but it was, you're young, you're stupid, you want the experience. But no, this is not something that anyone should ever do. After that, I still traveled, but mainly with like, either friends or family. And then when my life turned upside down back in like 2015, 2016, I took this massive sabbatical to South America, Europe, and the UK in 2017. And that was how my adventure really started, and that's what really changed my life.
So what would you say, like, because there's a unique experience about traveling, especially when you're by yourself. So like, how that has been your experience, like being a woman traveling by yourself? Because I know like there's a group of women that hesitate to travel themselves because like of the challenges that it's in it, but also there is a great advantage too. So what has been your experience in it?
It's one of those things where it's like, it is really, really scary. It really is. But it's one of those things where when you make that very first step, when you first just step out and just do it anyway, you will just see just how much more you're actually made of. So, for example, I grew up in a traditional Chinese family in Malaysia, right? So religion was a big thing. I grew up in like a Christian family, and it's understood that, all you're meant to do is I was groomed to be a professional. I was groomed to get married. There's like an equation that you follow. You get married, you build your own business, you have kids. And I remember my mom said to me, she said, if it came to a point where you and your husband's direction conflict, you have to follow your husband. It's that type of family, right? And so when I went traveling, all of that just went out the window. I learned so much about myself, of who I really am outside of the building blocks of the society that contributed to who I am as a person. Because as we're born innocent, right? But then the more we grow up, we're influenced by our family, we're influenced by our friends, we're influenced by cultural convention, where all these things that make us who we are, that form our ego, that form our identity. So when you go traveling by yourself, you throw all of that away. You literally do whatever you want to do. And it's challenging. It's challenging because you're forcing yourself out of your comfort zone, out of your privileged bubble of familiarity. For example, living in Australia is quite safe overall, right? By heading to South America, I knew that I had to be quite safe. I had to look after myself a bit more because I was doing that as a woman. You know, it's not like I know martial arts or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, you know, if someone were to pull a knife on me, I would be less than useless in those situations. So awareness is key. I learned so much about being aware. So I remember I went to this bloco, in a bloco in Lapa in Rio during Carnival season. And I was holding a small purse tight in my right hand. And as I was walking past someone, it was quite crowded, I actually felt someone try to wrench my purse out of my hand. And I remember feeling that. And normally you don't feel it, right? You don't really care because you're enjoying the scenery, you're enjoying everything. You don't care. And then you only realize 1 or 2 hours later when you're trying to buy, you know, the next round of alcohol that it's gone. But like, I remember I felt that and I just tightened my hand even more. I remember I looked at the guy dead in the eye and like wrenched my hand and my purse back. So, you know, and during this moment, it's kind of like, okay, there are moments to cut your losses and kind of give in, but this is not it. And this is part of the experience of traveling by myself, or traveling by yourself. You put yourself out there and you open yourself to anything, the good and the bad, and you are forced to be responsible, to trust your instincts and do what is appropriate for you. So I'm not going to say that it's smooth sailing because it's not. Maybe if you travel as part of a group, maybe, but it's not smooth sailing. But part of the difficulties, part of the hurdles, all the challenges, all the things that make you want to cry and all the things that give you a broken heart, that's all part of the decision, the micro decisions that you make to put yourself out there as part of your personal development. So anytime a wrong decision that we make, it's something that we have to deal with, right? We have to deal with it. We don't have anyone to turn to because we're by ourselves. So I had to force to deal with my own weaknesses. I can't run away from that. I have to face it, adapt, and fix it. And all of this built so much confidence, so much independence. I felt so comfortable in my own skin. It helped me get creative. It helped me learn how to deal with people, to be more understanding, to be more empathetic, to be more compassionate. And there's just nothing but good can come out of traveling solo, you know? And I think one of the two things that I value most is when you get to do whatever you want, you are free of judgment. When you're doing it solo, you're free of judgment from everyone. So most of the time, I like to push boundaries of safety a bit. And it was so nice not having someone tell me, you know, I don't think you should do this. Don't you think it's a bit unsafe? You know, because this is what I grew up hearing all my life. And all I wanted to do is just live my life. And I didn't want to hear that unless I personally asked for, you know, an opinion or advice. And I think it's important to realize that all these people who are trying to influence you, they don't really know you. Only you know you. Or, you know, if you don't know you because of all this influence, now solo travel will allow you to find out who exactly you are. So using that particular example, what people don't realize about me is that I do take big risks, but it is calculated to a loss that I'm personally willing to tolerate and to bear. So I would have thought about the potential loss and the price I have to pay. And I would have, you know, in the name of having fun, and I would have considered that to be worth the trouble if things went terribly, terribly, terribly. It would have just, for me, been, after lots of tears, it would be like, oh, you know, that was such a cool adventure. Yes, so I would say that would be one big thing. And another one is that just people are willing to help. What I've personally experienced is people are so willing to help, and you're never truly alone. As I've noticed that in my experience, at least, when I've encountered anyone, or especially South Americans, they see that I'm a foreigner and I'm traveling alone, I'm a woman. It seemed like they really admired the fact that I was brave enough to do this. If anything, a lot of people have actually told me that I was crazy for choosing this continent as a first continent to backpack for the first time, because it's, you know, universally dangerous or whatever it is, especially Brazil. And to do it as like a solo female where I knew no one, I don't speak the language, I know absolutely nothing. And they express that with admiration and respect for the courage that I'm exhibiting. And I think because they wanted to help me succeed, they see that I'm trying, they wanted to help me make this experience a good one. And this restored my faith in humanity so much, like insanely. I think there are some bad things that come with solo traveling. There are bad things that come through life, whether you're traveling in a group or solo, but the benefit and the lessons you learn, it's so rewarding and so valuable.
So what kind of boundaries would you recommend for people who are traveling alone, for women traveling alone? And the second question is, what risk to consider in making decisions while traveling?
Oh, I think you're asking the wrong person. I have no boundaries. So I am just to give you a bit of more of an inkling. So I am the type of person. So if we happen to go out in a group, within 5 to 10 minutes, I would have left that group. And because I would have started talking to someone, girl, guy, join that group or whatever. And next thing you know, I would have left that group too. And then go and moved on to the next one. And they'll be like, oh, do you want to come to this amazing party? And like, I would just be like, yes, let's go. And then next thing you know, I'm coming home at 9 a.m. the next morning. So I don't necessarily know that I am the best person to ask this, but I think the biggest advice when it comes to boundaries is that coming from someone like me is, we have to do what is right for us. So first and foremost, we should examine, what kind of experience do we actually want? What lesson do I want to learn out of this? What kind of person do I want to become? And all of us, we have different fears, we have different traumas, we have different desires and wants, we have different types of experiences that we want to have. So we have to examine, I think it's worthwhile to examine all of that and then make the right decision for ourselves. So for me, because I grew up in such a suppressed or oppressed kind of family situation and society, all I wanted to do was just have an adventure. So I said yes to every little thing. And even if I knew that there is a relatively big element of danger there, for me, I would take it anyway, because it's like, you know what, if it goes bad, I'll deal with it. And I know that I can deal with it. So it's about taking calculated risk based on what you want and what is comfortable for you. And for all of us, that standard is different. So I remember there was one night, I met up with, I made this new group of friends, and they lived in a favela, and they invited me to go back there for drinks. And I went. And if I told that to someone, they'd just be like, are you crazy? Anything could have happened. And it's like, yeah, that's right. Anything could have happened. But I did it anyway. And I made that decision sober. It's not like I was like inebriated or anything. You just go. And that turned out to be a really amazing night for me. But I understand that it might not be someone else's cup of tea. So it just depends on what it is you want. You have to set the boundary for yourself with what is comfortable with you, what is the price that you're willing to pay if things go badly. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Going along with that, because like when you go to a new place and you make decisions and you go forward to things, you experience things that are new. So in all of this experience, what has been your biggest cultural challenge that you had?
I think cultural challenge, in addition to just not being able to speak the language, well, eventually I got better at it. I think it's just I think in South America specifically, or some European travelers that I met, it's just that, like, let's start with South America, is that machismo culture, that, that strong masculine pride, which on one hand can be super hot, okay? Like if it's about, them wanting to buy this for you and help you do this, and I'll help you do everything, I'll pay for this, like, yeah, that's awesome, not gonna say no. But then at the same time, it's kind of like when there's that conflict there, it's like, are you seriously asking me why, why it is that how is it that my husband allowed me to leave the place? So when I was there, I felt that as part of a safety measure, I would still avoid any kind of like harassment or anything. I would say that, I actually have a husband at home, so to say that I am attached. And then, because normally if I'm going traveling, you want to be free and single. You want to just do whatever you want to do. So I set that kind of like as a barrier there. It's kind of like, okay, this is where it stops. And then they would say things like, your husband allowed you to go? Well, what is he doing at home? Why is he not with you? Kind of thing. And it kind of implied to me, like, number one, that I have to follow whatever my husband says, and then it circles back to what I said before about how my mom expects me to follow what my husband, to follow my husband if a conflict came. So it was kind of like, are you saying that I need my husband's permission to live my dream and to do whatever it is that I want to do? My God, you're crazy. That's number one. And number two, it also implied that it implied that I wasn't able to manage myself. Like I can't do anything by myself. Like I can't successfully go to the shops and buy a loaf of bread by myself without the assistance or without the protection of my husband. You know what I mean? So that was quite culturally challenging. But coming from, I think initially when it irritated me, it was just the initial stages. And after a while, I realized, look, this is the culture here. And I think at the end of the day, you know, we all grew up in different countries with different cultures, different upbringing. We had different countries colonize our various countries with different, you know, so we have different teachings. And it's ultimately realizing that we all want the same thing. We all want love. We want security. We want stability. We want family. It's just different. And that's it. That would be the biggest challenge.
That's interesting. And following that, how that has shaped your worldview, like when you meet people from different backgrounds, like I know that empathy can be one of those, because then you are able to relate to people or to sympathize with people who came with different worldview, and that comes with sometimes with preconceived cultural rules in their minds. So how that has helped you back home?
I think it's helped me kind of realize, as I said before, you know, that all of us, we're all humans. We bleed the same way. We want the same things. I think we just have different ways of getting there based on the circumstances that we grew up in. So, you know, lots of people say that the world is a terrible place, which is true. The way with everything that's going on in the world, it is a truly terrible place. It is. But in saying that, I feel that the reason it's so truly terrible is because people are trying so hard to say they're going about trying to protect their security and protect stability, or trying to obtain that. They're going about it in the wrong way. They're going about it as it's my way or the highway, when really we should be understanding the other person's point of view and seeing, okay, how can we both come to a compromise? How can we work together? And we need to stop. I think we need to stop looking at things from a very antagonistic, dominating perspective, and try to move forward with a more, with a better sense of collaboration, so better spirit of collaboration, shall we say? And I think through the traveling, that has really that's one of the biggest realizations that I realized, is that the world is what it is, and it's what it is because humans are acting the way we are, and we're just not going about it the wrong way. So we're just not going about it the right way. Sorry.
Okay. Now, going to a little different subject. Go ahead. What is your favorite travel story?
My favorite travel story.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, I would say. Well, I can tell you the London one, or I can tell you the Croatia one. Let's do the London one.
Let's do the London. Let's do the London one.
So when I was there, I think at that point I was probably traveling for maybe 6 months at that point. And I went to this illegal underground rave at Hackney Wick. And it was so good. It really was such a fun time. But then I think because I wasn't really the most sober person there at the time, obviously, I lost my phone, and inside the phone holder was my credit card. So suddenly all I had was £80 in cash. And I had no access to money in the bank. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I can't buy flights home, because at that time I still wasn't sure when I was going to go home. How am I going to survive on £80? And, you know, companies for like hospitality or whatever, they're not going to be emailing you to say, oh, you know, come in, we can give you a job or whatever it is. So at that point, it's like, I don't know, what am I going to do? So I walked around like different bars and everything around London, and, the relatively safer areas. And I was just trying to think, okay, I applied for a job, and all of them were saying like, we'd love to hire you, but if we don't put you on the books and we get caught, then it would be like a £30,000 fine. So obviously no company is going to pay $30,000 for some foreigner girl who lost her phone, right? So then after about a week or two of searching, I was talking to more people, and then I realized that there's a way to get around it. So basically, if I took on 3 different jobs and just worked like say 20 hours in each job or 10, 15 hours in each job, then I would be able to get my full-time hours and they don't have to put me on the books. So it's all cash in hand. So that was what I did. And then I tried to contact the bank. So I was with Citibank at the time. And oh my God, like their security systems they're so good, but they're also so bad. Security is so good in a sense that it'll be near impossible to hack someone's account, but it was also hard for me to get access to my account. so I had to send numerous emails and everything.
You guys are too good. Like
it was just like, why are you sending me this OTP? Don't send me this SMS, because number one, I don't have roaming on and I don't have a phone to even turn on the roaming. And it's like, and I can't get access to you to tell me my new number if it came to that. So it's like, come on. So I lost hope on that. Okay, I just lost hope. So out of the 80 quid that I had, I decided, you know what? I'm going to spend £55 to buy this lousy phone. It's this Samsung Win phone. I have to tell you about this phone. It can keep 6 photos, and then before it says you have no more memory. Okay, that's number one. Then number 2, when you turn on Google Maps, you know, like when you walk on the street or whatever, then the cursor, it walks with you, so you know where you're going. This one doesn't. You just turn on Google Maps and the cursor stays exactly where it is. No matter how far you walk or which direction, it just stays right where it is. So that was life in London for a little bit. So eventually, after working about three months and a bit, I managed to buy my flights home. I had friends kind of say to me, why didn't you tell me? Like, why didn't you tell me about it? I would have been willing to send you money. You could have asked your parents. And I was just like, no, asking for help was not an open option. I think even if I had to die on the street or sell my body, I was not going to ask for help. It was a journey, my personal journey, that I took very seriously, that I had to be able to make it by myself somehow or other. It may not be the most legal means, but I'm not really the most legal or ethical person anyway. So it's about getting what I need to get to get where I need to get to. So that's like my favorite, I think, possibly my favorite story. And I grew so much from that experience.
That's good and interesting too. Like, I have never heard a story like that though. But yeah. So going from that, we're gonna jump to another subject again.
Yes.
What is your favorite international food, and have you tried to cook at home?
Favorite food is hard. I mean, I don't even know where to even begin. Since I went traveling, just to let you know for a bit of context, I used to cook quite a lot before I went traveling. This is in 2017. When I went traveling, I cooked just once, and that was like instant noodles. And that was because I really wanted comfort food. This is like instant noodles from back home in Malaysia. So the entire time I didn't cook. And oh my God, I realized how much I love not cooking. So just for further, so I want to preface the beginning of this story, of this part of it, to say that I did not try to replicate any food since I came home, by the way. I would rather just find a restaurant and go there and just eat the food, and it's authentic and properly made. Okay, so let's start with that. In terms of favorite food, I can't narrow it down, so I will give a few. I love Brazilian churrasco. Like, I cannot, okay, I'm a carnivore I'm a carnivore, and it's hard for me to transition to plant-based. It's so hard. So I'm gonna own my meat eating ways, and I love Brazilian churrasco. It's the right amount of saltiness, and at the same time you taste the full juiciness of the different parts of marinated meat, and it's so good. I can't, it's so good. And then I love German currywurst. So the first time I had currywurst was when I was in Berlin, and this was, I think, like July. It was like during summer, I think, and it was the most amazing, the most amazing food that I had tried, I think, in Europe at the time. Because normally whenever I go somewhere, like, I would eat for sustenance. I love food, don't get me wrong, but I would eat just for sustenance. And if I was strapped on money and I was trying to save, I would I would spend that on experiences rather than food if I had to choose. So that's just how it's always been. So German currywurst is like, I love it. I could eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I remember when I was in Peru, I loved Peruvian chifa, and I loved my first experience of eating queen, and that was a bit like disconcerting because, you know, it's like some deep fried guinea pig that's all spread out like in a stick, like right in front of you.
It's like about to give you a hug.
Sorry?
It's like the guinea pig is served like it's about to give you a hug.
Yes, that's exactly right. It wants to give you a hug, except that its eyes are dead and it can't bend any part of its body because it's so rigidly deep fried. And and so I tried that. Well, actually, a friend of mine bought it for me to try, and he's from Peru. So he said, like, look, this is a delicacy. You're a foreigner. Come here and try this. So it's not like I wanted to try it. He just recommended it. So I tried that, and it was really good. Like, it was a bit weird when I got to the head, because, you know, the head is where the face is, and it's just like, oh, like it's a bit hard, but did it anyway, and it was really delicious. I feel kind of bad to say that, but it's really delicious. And so in terms of main dishes, those are my favorites. And I want to talk about my favorite snacks. So I remember when I was I think the first night of Carnival, and I was really tired coming back from a particular party. And there was this particular stand that sold churros, but it's like caramel stuffed churros. And I've never had caramel stuffed churros before. And this was so simple. It was so simple. And I tried it, and it was just like, so many amazing memories. Like, I can just feel, like, even talking about it now, I can feel the happiness bubbling up from within with how yum that was. And I've had caramel stuffed churros in other places since then, but none compares to the one from that particular place. And the last one is when I visited Buenos Aires. There's this particular like chocolate biscuit called alfajores, and when the first time I tried that, it was like happiness. It was like happiness in a little biscuit. And I think I had that every single day. And I even bought like a big box of it to take with me to Bolivia as a snack. And it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, those are my favorite foods.
Yeah, I love a good alfajores too.
Right? Oh, so yummy.
Well, Andi, thank you so much for joining us today. So tell our friends a little bit more about what do you do too.
So at the moment, I'm in the process of learning to become a digital nomad coach. So I used to be, up until 3 months ago, I was a lawyer, and then I decided, no, this is not the life for me. So I'm in the process I'm doing like content creation on Instagram at the moment. I'm looking to become a digital nomad coach. So for anyone who is looking to work as a digital nomad, like, I can provide assistance with co-working spaces, travel planning, all of that would be able to help you do all of that. The reason I want to become a digital nomad coach is I truly believe in the transformative benefits of travel. I believe that when you actually travel, we all undergo a personal evolution from everything that we learn through our travels, the perspective that we gain, the people that we meet, the adventures that we have, the growth that we experience. It's something that I really believe in. I think that personal evolution allows us to become better people, and it would help like combat so many of the social issues that are actually going on in the world at the moment. So that is like my little higher calling and my contribution that I want to make in the betterment of the world and in the betterment of us.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Andi, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, don't forget to follow her on Instagram and send her a message, like her photos. They are amazing, and as well her content. She is so fun to talk to and to see her post. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
La 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 la